And I don't have it up, so if you can let me know.
Yep, it's setting it up now. Okay, I could post the link in the chat for you.
Okay.
There you go.
I haven't used Zoom very much, so I don't know where it is.
So if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says chat. You might have to click on it because it will hide itself.
Yeah, I've got the Zoom window open and I've got chat open, but it doesn't seem to be showing.
Go up to the top center. No, not in that window. The top center of your other window.
Aha, yeah, it did hide it.
Maybe the Q&A there.
Q&A. No, okay. Answer dismissed.
Participant.
Chat. Aha. Over. Am I currently live? All right. I don't know if everybody can see me. I guess I should move this over here.
So when you talk, you will appear. You should appear on the top of the screen.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Give me a second. Not
okay.
yet.
It's so weird not being in a room full of people.
Yeah, we want to make sure that the Zoom is giving you the best amount of resources before people look at it.
Mm-hmm. So can they see me?
They will see you when you're talking.
Okay. Got it. You just said that. Can you hear Cooper typing?
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that a yes? Or?
Yes, that was a yes. Do you have a quieter keyboard?
No.
He's got a mechanical keyboard. It's like, worst time to have one.
It's posted. We have 11 people watching. Okay. Ariel, you are good to go, and I will go mute, and then I will unmute to ask you any questions that come in from the audience.
Okay. All right. Hello. We're good? We're live?
You are live.
Yay. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Ariel Burgess. I'm working with JordanCon to do a live stream drawing. I haven't done one of these before, so I'm really nervous. But yeah, I figured show you how I do stuff. I'm going to start with some tech stuff really quickly because I get these questions a lot, and any digital artist would or does. I use a desktop PC. You don't have to have a desktop PC. Photoshop does run best with something like a gaming computer. And that's what I have. And I use Photoshop because it's what I know best. But there are a lot of other good drawing programs out there. I use a Wacom tablet and 2OS 3. It's small and I find that fine. It's you know, whatever drawing like live area that you're used to is whatever's best for you. I used to have a really big one but it actually like kind of threw my back out using it. So I like the small one. The live area is actually only like this big. That's it. And you get used to it. The hardest thing about digital drawing is learning to draw looking away from what you're drawing on the, pen to the paper. I am traditionally trained to draw. I started doing digital art about 10 years ago, and just fell in love with it. And I found that I didn't have to set up, and I had a really small space, so I didn't have to like get paints ready and mix colors and things. I could just get coloring, 'cause sometimes I would lose the inspiration before I even got started traditionally. And so I did learn how to draw on paper though, and went to school and had art director parents. So that was kind of scary, being 4 years old and getting critiqued and stuff. My brushes, a lot of brushes you're going to see me use are not ones that you can get from Photoshop immediately when you download it. But I do have all of my brushes available on my Patreon for patrons to download. That's one of my perks. Okay, so what I was going to do here, I don't know if there are any questions on that. I just sped through.
You actually have one question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Easter egg that you have hidden in your paintings?
Oh, I don't know. I always like the jewelry. I always like fitting in the jewelry, the Badali jewelry. I fit in a lot of the Wheel of Time paintings that I did for the transition posters. Little stuff like spoilers, Elaine's pregnant in the card picture. It's just a slight shading thing that only a certain like small number of people noticed. And also like the doll on Egwene's belt for her transition poster piece. But yeah, like little stuff for people that I've read up to a point. I like fitting that kind of stuff in there.
Make sure you re-say the question.
Okay. I've got technical help behind me here. It's Cooper, who also works with JordanCon. The question was, what are my favorite Easter eggs in some of my paintings? So I was thinking for this, I would start something, and if I just am fumbling and taking too much time, I've already set up some line work to show you guys how I go from sketchy line art to painting. Not a final painting, we won't have time for that. Those can tend to take like, weeks. Sometimes it takes 4 hours, sometimes it takes a month. The Grendel painting that I did took a little over a month. It was the chair that took like 2 weeks. So I try to use a lot of references that I either get permission or take myself or cobble together. This is a reference I got permission to use, but I will show you in a bit. I made a comp with it, and here's what I was planning on doing at the end. So we'll start with a blank canvas here. I like the triangle brush. I've been kind of obsessed with it lately. So usually I just start, piece with circles. That's kind of how you draw people. I'll start this on an underlayer. So I can kind of see where things are going to go. Usually I'm like rocking out to music, but I want to make sure that I don't like lose my attention span. You'll learn how to do any of this kind of drawing in like a figure drawing class. But I tend to draw scritchy.
Ariel, we had a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you still work with traditional mediums, or are you strictly digital now?
Oh, I do both. I don't work in traditional as often. There are oftentimes months go by, but I don't. But I do have canvases and pencils and paper, and I like to travel with pencils and paper. I don't like drawing in public. I've had a lot of bad experiences with that. Just people coming up and hanging on me and telling me what to draw. And that kind of bugs me. People I don't know, or people I know, but usually people I don't know. But yeah, I do traditional stuff as well. There's just a different feeling, you know, it's all art and it all has a different feeling to it. And really it's whatever mood you're in that you want to draw. And this to me is smooth. There are definitely downsides. You don't get the textures. You can simulate the textures, but the physical feeling, you know, going into your hand and up your arm, that doesn't happen with digital art. So sometimes when I want to have that, I'll sit down and draw. I hope you guys can't hear, but our neighbors decided to do construction this morning and have been all day. They've been really quiet, super quiet neighborhood until today. So if you hear banging, hopefully
We haven't
you
heard
don't.
anything, so everything
Good.
seems good.
Good. Hopefully you
Rob
don't.
Christensen would like to know who or what are some of your artistic influences, illustrator, books, etc.
Yeah. So my parents were definitely artistic influences for me. My father went to school for art and was an illustrator, cartoonist, and my mother was a painter, and she ended up doing fused glass art. So a lot of my family I learned from, really looked up to. My brother's an artist, and, but I was one of the only ones that stuck with it in the younger generation. My grandmother was an art director, so her, but Todd Lockwood is definitely one. I saw this painting he did for, I think Magic the Gathering, when I was, 8 or 9. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And it was an angel. And that just kind of inspired a lot of art. And, I'm always going to butcher his name. I'd like not to, but Stefan Sujic, who does like Tomb Raider and Witchblade, and he's a really amazing comic book artist. I actually wanted to be, a comic book artist originally, and just ended up liking hyperrealism a lot more, and liking being able to do the whole thing. Instead of, in comic book, you end up doing like line art, and then somebody else does the coloration, and it's changed. But when I was growing up, it was a lot more like that. Michael Whalen, Maxfield Parrish, I love his art. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of like D&D art and reading like, Dragonlance series and being inspired by those artists. And so one of the things I really like about digital art, they can't do on paper, and it always bugs me when I go to draw on paper. And I get like, I forgot, is that you can change the size of stuff and move it around. I always end up on paper drawing a little to the side or a little too far down, and then I don't have room for their feet or something. And yeah, I like being able to move stuff and warp it. But for the most part, I pretty much just start the way I would on paper. The nice thing is that I can put this under everything and then start to really draw her. I used to rely really heavily on line work, but over the years, I've started to keep my line work kind of sketchy, unless I really want to keep it for something. So then I'll go in, I'll zoom in, and I'll clean the lines, which means like erasing around and making sure it isn't too edgy, or depending on what I'm doing. But if I plan on something being a full-on illustration, then I don't take as much time. Partly because I can see what I'm going to do in my eye.
Rob has a follow-up question for you.
Sure.
Have you used many tablet-based art programs like Procreate, or do you use an iPad too, or just a Wacom computer?
I have tried the iPad Sketch, and it's really good. It's really, really cool. Money has been a big obstacle in trying lots of things. If this stuff's expensive. So usually if somebody throws it my way, I will check it out. I have tried Corel. I found it just wasn't as enjoyable for me, but I think a lot of people really like it. You know, it just really depends on what you lean towards most.
Going back to your influence, were you at JordanCon when Michael Whalen was there?
I was, and I got to meet him. I try not to like remember people's names. So I recognized his art, but it helped me not be nervous when I came. But my mom actually came that year, and she's been a big fan of his, and she was really afraid to talk to him. It was really sweet. Yeah, he was super nice. Same thing with Larry Elmore. It was really, really cool to meet him.
Jeff Bernard asked, what about the free software like GIMP?
I haven't tried it. Well, you know, I think I tried it a long time ago, and I don't remember it making any kind of impression on me.
Billy Pierce is asking, are you still using the triangle brush for the darker lines?
I am. I really like this brush, but the round brush works perfectly fine. You know, sometimes I will draw on like something like this, which is a square brush. When it does that big mark like it did there, it's a sign of Photoshop having trouble catching up. So it's like a RAM processing problem. For the most part, it doesn't do that, but we're streaming and doing a bunch of stuff. And Photoshop likes to be the only one. And I might move forward here just so I can start to show you some cool color processes. So I had actually set up some lines previously. I just drew them a few minutes ago. So I'll probably go to those. In a moment here just to show you so I don't take forever. I'll probably clean up those lines. So that's kind of how I start. And then after working it for a while, also I label all my layers because if you're working in a professional environment where you need to share stuff, if you have to give somebody else your files and they open it and it's all layer 1, 2, 3, 46, 50, they don't know what anything is. And if you've got 50 plus layers, you don't know what stuff is. So you have to turn it off and on, and it's going to take you more time. There's a lot of hotkeys in Photoshop, and you can hotkey everything and undo and all that stuff. But I don't do them because I am dyslexic and I always mess up what's what. And it's faster for me to just do edit undo. So I did this a little bit ago. I plan on just coming in here and quickly messing with these lines. This is often, and you can see that I did the under sketch here. And that's another bonus to working digitally is I can do that under sketch, make it, you know, invisible. See that I missed stuff here. But I can make it go away so I'm not erasing. I do use my right hand for the mouse at the same time that I use my left for the pen tablet. Not at the exact same time. They don't work simultaneously. I have grabbed the mouse and moved the pen and then be like, ah.
So Jeff Daniels asks, what's your favorite piece of the Wheel of Time art and why? And Aurelia says hi.
Hi, Aurelia. Hi, Jeff. Aurelia's dad. My favorite piece of the Wheel of Time art, not including my own or including my own?
What's your favorite piece of Wheel of Time artwork? It was the question. So let's start with yours. What was your favorite Wheel of Time piece?
I don't know. It changes over time because I'll do one. For me, working on art, I often I hate it. I get really excited about it, and then I get midway, and I just hate it, and I don't want to look at it anymore. And I get excited about parts of it, and then I hate it again. And then I finish it. I go, I can't look at this anymore. Come back a few months later, and I'm like, hey, I like this. So that's kind of how it goes with it. And part of it's you look at it so long. Of the ones that I worked on, I still really like the Rand of the transition period pieces. Like that one, it started in the middle of the night, and it really turned into something meaningful for a lot of people. I think the Moraine one was one of my favorites. Out of all of them, Lan was the one I was the most proud of because I felt like it really looked like him. And that was something I always struggled to do. I felt like at that point I hadn't drawn a Lan that I liked. And I felt like really looked like him. When I started working on the Wheel of Time stuff, I was pretty green on professional things or really production or any of that. Tavern Teas was lovely enough to go through that roller coaster with me.
So we have a very popular question that's been asked, and people have been seconding it. Any specific advice about hands?
Oh, hands. So I had this high school teacher, Mrs. Hess, that was really awesome. And she would get in really close behind us while we were drawing, looking at references. And she would say, don't get no lookyitis. And that's really true. One of the things about hands is I try to really pay attention to the reference. Everybody's hands are different. Count your fingers. I don't care how old you get, even professional illustrators, the most professional people, we will forget fingers sometimes. And it happens. You know, when drawing anything, there really just isn't a specific, easy go-to. I think I always start kind of with a square or circle if I'm drawing a hand, and then go from there. I can show everybody really quickly a one that isn't all fisted up like that. On this layer. So normally when I'm drawing like a hand, I'll start like that. And then kind of, again, with the blocks, and then, you have to know like where things connect. So making fingers look like sausages is one of the things that's like really difficult not to do. And that's again where you have to pay attention to your reference. See, I almost missed a finger there. You know, something like that. I just realized I put the thumb on the wrong side. You know, I'm focusing to myself talking. Always make sure the thumb is on the right side. And often I'll do this and make faces and stuff. It's a lot of practice. I mean, practice at looking at things. Fingernails are really difficult. And men's fingers tend to be a little difficult than women's, and age is a big factor. Some people have more feminine or masculine hands. There's some things that you don't draw, like you never draw teeth. You imply teeth. Because it just never looks good. On women, you just tend to, you know, they have wrinkles and they have lines in their face, but the more lines you add, the more older they're going to look. So you have to, it's a fine balance between drawing the right lines. That's why babies are so difficult, because they have really strong expressions, but they don't have a lot of lines in their face. And if you draw the lines that they do have, you can make a baby look like an old man. Which is really creepy. So yeah, it's just a quick hand out of my head. So I was going to keep drawing this a little bit, check on the time. But yeah, if I've got a photo reference, which I am a pretty heavy photo reference user, there are amazing artists who can, you know, not use photos. That takes a lot of practice. And a lot of freehanding, a lot of figure drawing. But you need references sometimes, even if you've got, you know, the line drawing in your head and you draw that and that's fine, but you might need color references. You might not, you're not sure somebody's skin tone or the material that they have. Like, let's say they're wearing jewelry. If it's plastic, it's not going to look like metal jewelry. Those are different. And that's just about studying and really, really being a good observer.
Right now, everybody's in all of your demonstration right now. And since we're talking about the Wheel of Time, and I know that you've started updating your Wheel of Time characters to match the TV show actor and actresses. Which one was your favorite to draw?
You know, each one I did more work than I intended to. They were all really fun. I don't know if you want me to pull any of those up right now. Quick segue, save often, save. And if you forgot to save again. You never know what's going to happen. Doesn't matter how good your computer is. I have lost hours and hours of work by not saving. Save. Also, there's a preference thing in Photoshop. You can go to edit, preferences, general, and then you can do saving history, and it will make it save every 5 minutes automatically. So quick tip. My favorite probably out of them was the matte. I don't know if we'll see if that shows up. I'll pull it up real quick because I know exactly where it is. I hyper organize all my stuff. Yeah, so the matte was probably one that I really liked because I did a background with that one, and you can kind of see there's some people in there. And this is kind of what I'm going to show you how I colored in all of these because I did it in monochromatic black and white. And I used a photo reference of the actor sitting at a table. My other favorite was the Rand because I used the coat that I designed a couple years ago and then got the chance to redesign the sword. But but you can see that when you get really close, for a long time I used to hyper zoom in and make sure everything was super clean, and I still do that sometimes, but it takes a really long time, and it actually always doesn't look so realistic. And so this was really fun to do. And I painted this in black and white first, and then painted over top in color overlays, which I'll show in a few minutes here. And then those color overlays, I folded down into the black and white, and then painted over top of that. You can see that best in like the hair, where I painted over top of the line work and stuff like that. And again, used photo reference of the hand and him and this hand. And these are not, neither of these are his hands. I just used a photo here of him, and then one person's torso and kind of made up from there. And then one person's arm and sword. Katanas are really tough for me to draw. They hurt my arm often because there's a very slight curve to them, and you can't just use the line tool. It looks really fake. Yeah, so those two I really liked. But all of them were fun. I didn't spend very much time on the moraine. That was the first one I did. I thought I'll just do this in like an hour. And then it kind of took off, and went, oh, maybe I should spend more time on it. And I spent like 4 days on the mat. Had other stuff to do, but it made me feel good to do. And I kind of started those because you know, a lot of people were really mad about the casting, and I've worked on the series a really long time, and some of them definitely didn't look like what I imagined, but I was really excited to, you know, see how they do. And I could picture a lot of them, and I thought, well, a lot of people see my art as the kind of go-to guide for what they look like, so why not see what these actors look like as the characters?
Speaking with the Wheel of Time questions, Jennifer Doe's asked, what's your favorite kind of Wheel of Time creature?
Creature. You know, I really like the Trollocs. I, for 1 year, we were talking about like a joke thing with Tavern Teas, and I wanted to do a Trolloc swimsuit calendar. I still do. And I thought that would be really fun. I did a little mock-up of a Trolloc in like a thong with a pink thong sipping like a mojito on the beach. They were like, no. And I was like, come on. Yeah, so what I mean by painting in, again, especially anytime you make big changes, what I mean by painting in black and white is, let me see. So you can see I have thousands of brushes. I did not make all of these. A lot of them are free brushes that you can find, and I've just collected them over the years. Photoshop has a new feature where you can actually group them, and that really saves a lot of scrolling. So these are like, you know, dragon brushes and scars and wounds and stuff. And these are my brushes that I've custom made and used throughout you know, Wheel of Time stuff. This is the Avansora leaf that I made for one project, a couple of projects actually. These are, you know, this was used on Nynaeve's dress for her transition piece. Yeah, but I'll do little stuff like, you know, this is stitching that saves me a little time. And then I can go in and add in the details, and that just means I'm not sitting there and tediously drawing and stitching. Same thing with chains. I have a chainmail brush, which is one of my favorites because it just comes in and it looks like chainmail, and you can go over quickly and do the details. That's how I did the chainmail on Lan. And I've got a coin armor brush that I made for Bay of the Wild. This one's, so I could make it look like scale mail. And just go in and paint and save a little time. Brushes don't do everything for you. Photoshop doesn't do everything for you. You still have to know how to paint and what to do. I am currently looking for a cloud brush, and it's probably under my cloud drop down. There we go. You have to be careful. Some of these brushes can overload Photoshop. And some of them are specifically meant to work with a Wacom tablet. So there's sensitivity, what's called sensitivity, which is like how hard you press down on the brush. Like I'm pressing really lightly here and I'm pressing really dark here. Those will react to the pen. They won't react to your mouse. So you do need a stylus. And the first one I got was a hand-me-down. You know, I didn't have a lot of money, so I got hand-me-down, and I got to use somebody's Photoshop and see that I liked it. And I do subscribe to Photoshop now. I use it enough. It's a common misconception that you have to have all of your stuff on their cloud. You do not. It just gives you the option to use the cloud. But my stuff is saved directly to my computer, and I do that because they have some funny, all cloud services have some funny licensing. So I will often just kind of do a quick background just to give some atmosphere and show me what I was going to do. And this one, I was thinking to do something kind of cyberpunk-y originally. So I was going to do, some plastic sheeting because it's not cyberpunk without a plastic tarp on you. And some neon glasses and the glowy umbrella. And this lovely model, who I know personally, is one of the smartest people I know. She's brilliant as well as an awesome model who was wearing combat boots because, dresses in combat boots. So I'll do something like this, and then on a separate layer, and this is when we start to get really layer heavy, I'll usually do all of this stuff on one layer. And layers are these things over here. I pretty much only use, I'll use patterns, which these are patterns. You can see a lot of the ones I've used for Wheel of Time. These are textures that you can paint into stuff. It's how I get a lot of the embroidery looks that I do. And I'll paint these in and then paint over top of them and do all the little details like you can see on the Moraine transition piece, her skirt. It makes each one look unique, like you didn't just throw a pattern in, but it does save a little time. So you're not hand drawing all of the patterns yourself. So I pretty much use patterns. This is for typing and the brush tools. And you can see how they are different, how they're made unique. They've got all these different filters on them and things that make them space out. So if I did that, it would make triangles like that, or not space out. And turn off shape tags.
You mentioned earlier that you usually listen to music while you're doing this. Jennifer Austin asked what kind of music.
Depends on the day. I was just listening to the new Big Data album because that one's really pumped up, and I like that one. But it really depends on the day. I listen to a lot of 70s music, Queen and Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, and there are some days where I really need Katy Perry and Some days I want to listen to metal, and it doesn't always match what I'm drawing. There have been times I've drawn really, really happy stuff and I'm listening to Rob Zombie because that's what's getting me through the day. And then there are times where I am drawing something really scary and I'm listening to ABBA, which is one of my favorite bands. And that's just, what's keeping me in the groove. I often work late at night because that's just, I struggle with insomnia. And there's less distractions. There's really nobody on to talk to. And
Kate asked, is there a chance we might see some Brandon Sanderson Cosmere art from you in the future?
Yes and no. No, because I haven't read a lot of it. I started reading Mistborn and it just wasn't the right time for me to take it in properly. I wasn't focused. Yes, because I am wanting to buy it. I have Starsight on my dresser and it's the next book I'm reading. And I am pretty sure that I will be inspired. But I like, I love working on properties. It's really amazing working with the fan base. The Wheel Time community is forever in my heart, and I'm so grateful to have them. But it's also really important as an artist to do your own stuff sometimes.
Jeff Daniel asked, what has JordanCon meant to your career as an artist, and any advice for aspiring artists attending JordanCon?
Everything. It has meant everything. Working with Tavern Teas changed my life completely. I know all my best friends, all the people who are nearest and dearest in my heart because of it. Actually going to a convention is really scary, but it's really important to meet people in person and to try things out. April Moore convinced me to join the JordanCon Art Gallery, and that was the first time I was ever in a gallery in which people could buy my stuff. Then making friends and being able to prove that I could do panels and learn from other artists. I've met so many talented, amazing professionals and non-professionals and just all of the like who are inspiring and have really interesting things to say and to learn from. I think as a newbie, don't go in there comparing yourself and look at other people and say, oh, I could never do that, or I'll never be that good, because you can be, and everybody's different. My art looks different than Joe O'Hare's art, and I love his stuff. It's super cool. I don't do charcoal and graphite and black and white and traditional stuff as well as Paul Belichick does. He's really inspiring. And Charles Urbach, who goes to JordanCon, as I've learned so much from him. He's worked with L5R and the Wizards of the Coast and won multiple awards, and he does color pencil art. And he reminded me that I loved doing color pencil as a kid. And yes, you can be a professional and paint with color pencil.
As being part of JordanCon, I've seen your art year after year, and it's fascinating. Watching your art evolve throughout your career, from when you first came to JordanCon versus what we're seeing now. Kind of like reviewing Brandon's writing when he first started to where he is now. So it's just fascinating watching that transition.
So thank you. And it's been pretty amazing. I've always been really honored to be there and just wowed by everybody. And, there are times I look back at some of the old art and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was in a gallery and like people bought that and it wasn't that great. And, I have people like April who go, shush. It was good. And it was the best you could do at the time. as an artist, you do have to, at a certain point, be able to look back and say, like, that's where I was. And let's see, where's this guy? Oh, it's because I locked the layer. And let it go, you know. If you're forever trying to go backtrack and fix things, you'll never move forward. And same thing with when you're working on commercial art. It is important to be a perfectionist, so you don't let yourself get lazy, but at the same time, it's really important to let stuff go and call it done, so you can move to print and people don't tear out their hair, and you can get it to all the fans who want it. That's part of why I've gone back and just for fun mess with some of the old Wheel of Time stuff, because it's fun to do, but yeah. So what I'm doing is like a basic color block. Get rid of this layer, and color block of the character, and that will help me kind of lock the layers so I don't. This is the transparency lock. So transparency means you're locking out all of the transparency where you haven't painted, and that means that I can paint like this, and it doesn't go out of where I just colored in, and that makes it easier so I can be really quick about stuff.
Jeff Bernard asks, do you ever take any of your older art and fiddle with it to try to improve it with the newer skills you have?
Yeah, for fun, I did some of the Wheel of Time cards recently, just some of the ones I felt like at the time I didn't have the skill set to do. So I went back and redid Logain and Katsuine, and I don't remember who else I worked on, but it was nice to do and just to see that I could do it. And I was suffering a little bit from that. That's so bad. But I have to remember, you know, at the time I was pretty young, and it was the best that I could do at the time. And this brush that I keep using is the smudge tool, but it's actually a modified version of it where it blends things together. So if I'm going to do like colors and the like, it'll blend together. I'm being really quick because I want to get to showing you guys the color, and I have to have some shades in here so you can see the difference. This is a technique that I've started doing the last few years. I used to just go right into painting in the exact colors. And the problem with that is you can often end up with something where they look like they're in different rooms. And it's not all in the same body or same place. When you are painting something like a direct portrait, you can, with Photoshop, you can directly pull from, you know, the colors on a photo, which I have often done. But there are times where your eye will see a certain color, but if you use like the color picker, it doesn't actually look like that color. It's made of other colors, and art is really illusion work. It's recognizing the illusion and being able to replicate it. So you see that I will do that, and I'll do another layer because this gradient layer is great, but you can't really fix the gradient very well if you mess up. So I just like to take my chances safely on a different layer. But by doing this right here, I can make sure that everything will match once I start doing the colors in the tone, that they're in the same space. And this right here is what's called like a photo composition, or there's the umbrella itself, and there's what I'll use for color, and there's the original photo. So I quickly threw together just some things that I wanted to look at, and this is from a Google thing, but I won't. If you do something off of a Google search, you know, try to make sure that you're using something you have permission, or that it looks so different in the end that it's not the same picture, or that it's just helping you. I like painting in opaques because it helps. You can layer over top. I've had a lot of people tell me I paint like an oil painter, which is funny because I have never oil painted before. How are you on time?
You have about 45 more minutes.
Okay, so
You got plenty of time.
Gonna move to colors here. This is why I did prep line work, so I could show everybody the cool stuff.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question from Jory.
Okay.
Hopefully it makes sense. Would you mention that that you, Ariel, you'll get 1 million bonus points for layering and managing files for him? He knows artists who do it one layer and wonder, oh no, baby, what are you doing? And
yeah, some people like painting all in one layer. I personally don't. And those people, the ones who do it really successfully, are very practiced at it. And there are a lot of times I will do stuff on one layer, but I prefer to give it some extra oops room. Do you think that answers the question?
let's see. There's like a 5-second delay from you and I talking versus what they see. So
sure. For safety reasons, just in case Janet Jackson runs in.
He says you're the best and gives you a big heart.
Okay, big heart back, Jory.
So we know you're a big Wheel of Time fan, and you've done all Wheel of Time art. What other fandoms do you like to create in?
I am a really big Dresden Files fan. I really enjoy that series, and I have done some fan art for it, and shared it to groups that I know Jim Butcher is in. I don't know if he's seen any of it. I would love to work on that series. I'm a really big Sailor Moon fan. I grew up with Sailor Moon, but reading the books, with dyslexia, I really struggled to read, and my father bought the manga, and that was really the thing that kind of got me reading. So I can thank Sailor Moon for all of my reading fandoms.
Who's your favorite character in Sailor Moon?
That's difficult. Pluto, probably. I think she's really super cool. Yeah, I mean, I've actually really struggled to read, so there's a lot of things that I've had other people read and tell me about, that I've really been interested in sitting down here and finally getting to read. I read a lot of Anne McCaffrey and Margaret Weiss, Tracy Hicks books growing up. My mom, you know, she always wanted to be a book cover artist, and so when she saw that I wanted to do that too, she started handing me a lot of books that Michael Whalen had done the cover for, and just said, read the book, look at the cover, you know, see how it translates. And
It sounds like you hit a note with some of these fans here. They want to see your Dresden art.
Yeah, yeah. I've got some.
Is it on your website? I could post a link to your website.
I don't know if I've updated that recently with Dresden art, but I can pull one up. Here we go. There's one. Let's see if that pulls up. Can you guys see that?
You haven't seen it yet. It's coming.
Okay.
So someone asked, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Ardia Farmer asked, has anyone ever gotten a art tattoo of yours on themselves?
Yes, lots of people. And I think it's super flattering and super cool. When I was working with Tavern Teas, my policy was if you do that, please try to buy a poster from them. And also, if you do get a tattoo of my art, try to get somebody who's really good at portraits. That's my main focus is faces. So you really want somebody who can do that better than all the other details. Is it showing yet? Because I can't.
Yes,
okay.
Everybody's loving it. Sorry, I was.
No, it's okay. Yeah, actually, it was requested by a patron to do this, who also works for JordanCon, head of volunteering, and I didn't know it was him, which is pretty funny. But yeah, he asked me to draw Dresden, and I said, I want to do a quick sketch. Sure, I'd like to do it. And he was like, can you draw this battle and Mab and the Marcone, and they're having a conversation. And I was like, no, I have a few minutes. I will draw Dresden with a Burger King hat. And that's how that came to be. But he always looked really handsome in my head. So, okay. I'm just gonna do this just because we don't have a ton of time.
So of the tattoo art that you've seen of your art, which one was your favorite, or which one that floored you when you first saw it?
Honestly, just all of them. It's just really cool to see people have that done. I think the one I've seen the most is the Rand transition poster. And that one's always, it's really, really cool to see that people have had that done. I've also seen a lot of people who with the Perrin one, which was pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm just gonna blend this real quickly because I want to get to colors. Normally I would spend a lot of time doing this.
How did you feel seeing Leslie in your transition moraine?
Oh, it was amazing. It was just mind blowing. And it wasn't just Leslie that was dressed up as something I had painted that year. There was a Grendel, the original lady who posed for that painting, cosplayed as that painting at the convention, which was just like so meta. It was super cool. So yeah, that I was just floored. There was Marissa was dressed as my damsel from Kylie Kellemar's book. I did her her cover for Damsel in Distress, and really looking forward to the next book if she can write that. It was really fun. Great kids book.
Yep, I really liked it when Melanie dressed up as Biddy. Biddy is my favorite character. And
yeah, I love Biddy. We just actually read the book to the kids, and they thought it was really awesome, and they really liked Biddy, and they really like Exby.
Exby's okay. Biddy is better.
Biddy's, yeah. I always do the really fun Cockney accent. And Cooper would read it and then he'd be like, you do Biddy better than I do. It's the sass.
Jeff Bernard wants to know, when is the transition hopper coming?
Wolf to ghost.
Oh!
Not, because those take a lot of time. My next one was going to be the Avienda and then Min. But because of stuff, it's taking the time to do that kind of thing. I just couldn't justify that. I will probably continue to draw the characters and have fun with that, but that kind of work is weeks worth of work, and I just can't. If I do this for a living, and I still have to do stuff that makes money and that I can sell. Okay, I'm going to use a fur brush because that one's really fun. This is how I've been painting a lot of people's dogs lately, by layering this fur brush. I like to keep the opacity to like 30, between 30 and between 30 and 50. The brush. And when you're painting different materials, you have to remember that it's different and different hardness of brush, and you want to show different things. And then different skin and hair are different than fur. And fur is very different than hair.
Jennifer Austin asked for you to talk about your commission work. She's seen one of your pieces and it was gorgeous, and she just wants you to talk about your, you being available for commission, and what's your favorite commission piece?
So I am available right now, and I'm doing a sale on commissions, and it's $25 for a sketch and $50 for a shaded sketch, kind of like this one. A little more detailed. I usually get commissions by like word of mouth, but people, they see my website or a fan of my stuff, and I don't do copyrighted characters or anything like that. I prefer to do. This is a hairbrush, by the way, and it literally. Isn't that cool? And usually I'll paint like something underneath it, and then paint that, and then paint over top of that to make shades, and then paint over the top of that to do strands, individual strands that are random. I am open for commission. I do try to be selective on what kind of stuff I do for people. So I really like I've been doing a lot of people's D&D characters lately, and that's been super, super fun. It's really creative, and it's really fun to help people like visualize their characters. And but I think the one that she was talking about, I just recently did a portrait of somebody as the crone, the mother in the crone, Mother Winter. And it was really, really cool. Some JordanCon people might recognize it. And that was also going to be at this JordanCon, and will be at the next. Being super quick here. Right, I'm just going to start slapping some colors on here. She looks like she has a mustache. Oh no. Blend that out. And we're blending. Okay, so what I usually mean by colors is I'll play with this usually because every mode shows up differently on black and white, but you can literally do a new layer and a color and it picks up all the shades, which is super cool. And of course it doesn't look finalized, so I will tend to go over it. That's black. And the lighter colors don't show up as well. So that's something to remember. This technique doesn't work for everything, but it will get your base down. But it saves you a little bit of time making sure stuff is fitting. I'm not looking at my reference as well as I should be. And you can see that I'm like directly pulling from the photo, and that really helps. So we'll just save some time. Be quick about it. Get some of that cool green in there.
So a question was asked, is your layer set to color mode or multiple mode?
It's multiply, which would make it dark. So you can see all these different things that I could do, and that would be really cool. And sometimes I will I don't know, see the screen would be kind of neat, or that one. I really like linear dodge and color dodge for bright stuff like metallics, but I'm using overlay right now. See, this is what it looks like normal. And I use overlay here just to slap some color down. And stuff like, you see how she's got glitter in her skirt. I wouldn't paint that in this part. I tend to paint that in the over painting part. So I will show everybody what I mean by that, by over paint. So this is like the start of how I do a painting. But this is really, step one. All this stuff, the black and white, the color overlay like this. The stuff that really, really takes all the time is when I'm zooming in and I'm doing lots of little detail and just painting everything by hand. I chose a piece that's got lots of color. And I don't always paint exactly the reference. Originally, I was thinking about doing a little bit more of the teal look. So I had some color references in here that I was looking at doing, and you can't see them because they're underneath that layer. So, and I'll often do this. I'll throw up a totally picture that has nothing to do with this photo, and use that instead for color references. Like if I wanted to do purple in her hair and skin and stick with the more purple and blue, look, do pinks on the highlights.
Will this piece be shared once it's done as part of the JordanCONline legacy?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Just, I guess people are wondering if if you would be able to, if this is going to be done during a lot of time, or is something this is a work in progress that you would share once it's officially complete?
I'm thinking about making this a work in progress, and then having it all finalized and cool. What I was thinking about doing originally in this is that she'll be like in a city with kind of the smoke around her and rain, and make it very Blade Runner-esque with the purple and teal, and the colors that are very steampunk, not steampunk, cyberpunk. And sell it, have it for sale on canvas print at the next JordanCon. But you see how her skin looks kind of funny, and that's because it's grayed out. I think I can duplicate it and make it really strong. And I'll often leave, and I'll layer stuff down as I go and then paint over top of that. And you see, oh no, the layer opacity is not there. Well, I can select this guy. I can either inverse it and clear, or I can undo clear, undo select. I said undo select. And I can mask it, then select it, color paint it. Boop. You can do that and get rid of it and leave it on the outside, and leave a silhouette of something, or you can do that. And that way, if you decide, you know what, actually, I kind of liked a little bit coming off her shoulder, we can bring it back in and it's not deleted like erasing would do. But for here, I actually want it to be gone. So what I am doing now, because this is like super quick, is showing you what I would do next, which is painting over the line work. Which is how a lot of my stuff, why you don't see the lines at the end of the day.
Going back to the Wheel of Time, Jeff Daniels asked, what was your most frustrating or challenging piece of the Wheel of Time artwork to complete?
Gosh, there's always challenging parts. And then some art just really comes together. I think some of the calendar art I really had a tough time with. Challenging, I'm not sure. I try to challenge myself with every piece. So I try to, if I'm allowed to pick what I'm going to do, I try to pick poses and things that I find really challenging or I find really dynamic. I think something that's challenging in that kind of work is you don't always get to choose. I might try to push for one, but everybody else wants to have a different one, and sometimes that opinion is, at the end of the day, the best one. So, I mean, challenging and difficult to paint. I guess the transition posters were really difficult. The one piece of Perrin fighting the Darkhounds was really difficult for me. Definitely the lava with Androl fighting the Trollocs from A Memory of Light. And I felt like I didn't succeed at that one. And that's the thing, is sometimes you challenge yourself and you don't, it doesn't work out, but that's the point, is that you challenged yourself. And you can also do your brush as a color dodge, and sometimes I'll do that.
Just so you know, there's a comment that they would love this art as a phone wallpaper.
Oh, okay. I do phone wallpapers on my Patreon. That's one of my rewards. The $3 amount, I do wallpapers of a lot of the art that I do. And you can just get a desktop wallpaper or a phone wallpaper of it. And it's just a kind of cool perk.
I posted a link to your Patreon in the YouTube chat. But do you want to talk about your Patreon? Do you want to give yourself a quick
Promo.
promo?
Yeah, and Patreon is a service in which you can support artists. It's really important, especially now, to be able to support us. But you pay a dollar amount a month. Mine go as low as $1, like $1, and that really helps artists. And it can go up to $150 a month, in which you're getting private tutoring and stuff like that. I also am open to critiques and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a really great way to support artists. It's I find it really helpful because I get to post stuff like this where I do video walkthroughs. People can see, like the Moraine transition poster. I have videos of how I made that up on there, and yeah, you can watch me paint, or I do like video tutorials as well. I mean, not video, image tutorials as well, and those are really cool. So what I'll do is I save as I go. And then I kind of gather all that stuff together, and I've pretty much always done that. So I've got lots of pieces that I've saved over time, and nobody's really seen all the back end stuff to it.
So how long have you been using Photoshop? You're clicking through everything like so fast, like like you have everything committed to memory and everything else.
It's funny because I feel like I'm moving really slow. I have been using it since I was 17, so 12 years, something like that. Yeah. Wow. That was an instance of me grabbing the mouse too soon. My hands sometimes war over each other. Yeah, normally I would like really get in here and make sure this is super accurate. But yeah, painting. So painting over top leads to, and I said I was going to do that. Showing how you can go over the line work. To really make it look like a painting and not just a sketch or a doodle.
Yeah, just a reminder to our audience, about 75 minutes ago, this was a blank piece of paper or screen.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff I know, I'm doing with the lighting, like it's just practice and schooling, observing. You don't have to go to art school. I did not go to art school. I went to community college and got most of an illustrator's associates. But I was also really lucky to have, like I said, art family who have been critiquing me since I was a kid. I used to watch a lot of Disney movies and Gargoyles and X-Men on Fox in the morning, stuff like that, and draw just all the time. If you want to get good at drawing, draw all the time. Draw stuff you see. Draw yourself. Make funny faces in the mirror. That really helps. Draw things that inspire you, that make you happy and make you feel good.
So how much do you actually, when you do an art piece like this, how much do you actually know what you want it to look like versus how much do you experiment to decide what goes where?
You know, what I want it to look like is usually a general loose idea. And then that morphs as I go. As I've practiced a lot, that has changed a lot more because I kind of know that's why my line work is starting to look so loose, because I'm spending less time on it because I know it's gonna change. So I'm about to do some really cool stuff here.
Dan Hub asked, is there anything you really wanted
Wow.
to paint, but you haven't done it yet?
Oh gosh, lots of things. She mean like Wheel of Time related or just in general?
Just anything. It was just a generic question. Is there anything you really wanted to paint, which you have yet to do?
I will spend the rest of my life figuring that out. But yeah, actually there's a paladin piece that I wanted to do. And I was considering doing that for this stream, but I thought this would be really colorful and fun. Where it's actually my D&D character. She has midnight skin with like really, really dark skin with crystals coming out of it and iridescent eyes. And I thought like, man, those colors would be so cool. And then like a crystal encrusted sword and scale mail. And she worships Bahamut. Oh, you know what I haven't done in a while? Saved. I haven't saved. Dangerous. It's really dangerous, people. And so I thought it'd be really cool to have like the light of Bahamut coming down on her and to do that. And I was going to do like a rogue and just, yeah, I've been really enjoying some D&D stuff, but I love doing fantasy. Super fun for me. Storytelling, telling stories with my art. I want somebody to be able to look at my art and say, you know, that looks like there's a story in that. And, you know, be really curious. This is the overtop. So
Rory Phillips asks that you should go ahead and just paint that deity character so he can stare at forever.
I am going to. It's on my list and I've got an itch to do it, and it's just a matter of when I can get to it. So this is the color dodge tool, which I love.
You know, Jory, you can always go to her page and ask for a commission.
Yep.
Get it done faster.
It's very true. I've been really enjoying painting people's D&D characters lately. Usually I don't use the blur tool so much, but I'm here. And sometimes I'll blend stuff, you know, in together and then come back and really detail it out. And sometimes I won't blend it because sometimes that's how it looks coolest. And then one of the reasons I like doing stuff in layers is also because you can, you know, you can go underneath the layer and do something, which is something I'm about to do. And ooh, that's too big. So, or I'm going to use that mask tool again. Want to make sure that this stands out. So I really like the way it looks on a lot of her, but I don't want it to do, I don't want it to do that everywhere. Be so bright everywhere. So I'm going to bring back in some of this line work and mask it out. And then underneath this layer, and I haven't been labeling in part just for expediency's sake. But normally I would do that. Let's see. So I'm painting underneath. And sometimes you go, you know what? I don't like how strong that is, or make that darker. And now you don't know where the shaft is, and it just looks like a weird thingamadoodle. So you want to fix it. I'm not paying too much attention.
I don't think anybody does. It's just fascinating to watch.
Yeah. And my eye tends to glide all over the place as to what I was gonna paint. So I'll be working over here and be like, this needs that. And it's very ADD. So there's all kinds of cool brushes, and I've pretty much just been using some pretty basic stuff. And you can use cool brushes for things. But let's see if I can fit in doing. In the meantime, I'm always trying to remember, put your shoulders down, put your shoulders down, put your shoulders down. Because I just end up being like, I'm trying the whole time. I'm like, why does my shoulders hurt? Oh.
I don't know, Kipper, you need to start rubbing her shoulders.
He does. He's lovely. We both have bad backs, so we take turns with heating pads and stretching and roller balls and all that jazz.
So normally, how long would it take you to do a piece of work like this? I mean, I know you've been doing it. You started about, what, 80 minutes ago?
Something like that, yeah. Depends on how far I wanted to go with it.
What's the longest piece? What's the longest time it took you to complete a piece, and what's the shortest time? Just estimates, if you.
Yes. Yeah, don't do that too much. I can't. The longest is probably a couple months I've taken to work on something. Of course, that's going back and forth with other things and having life stuff happen. I think it was like 3 months is the longest I've taken to do something, but that was really, really extensive work. And then the shortest amount of time is like 20 minutes. I can do pretty intricate stuff in 20 minutes. So let's see, let's pull this color. Maybe, yeah, let's do that.
And you're going to be joining Paul playing that Drawful 2 game, right?
I am. I'm going to join Paul for Drawful and take a little break here after this and do that. It'll be fun. So let's see. Also, label your files. Label your files, things that make sense. Don't write final. It'll never be the final. I always write version this, version that on my stuff. and, you know, label, have a folder for it, have a project folder, so you can find stuff again. All my wheel of time stuff is you know, I'm actually gonna blur this. It's done by type of thing, and then it's done by, you know, what the project was. So, you know, it's posters, transition posters, rand poster, and then the processes, and then all that stuff. And there's my cat. If you heard that meow. Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay, I said I was going to do this. So you can do all kinds of, you know, interesting brushes. I'm trying to think fast. Industrial and tech. I think this
One final question for you. Jeff Bernard asked, when you go back to work on this, do you save over what you currently worked on, or do you use version numbers?
I save over. Here comes the cat. This is a constant struggle with her here. So just so you know, she likes to sit on my tablet.
You've been drawing for over an hour now. It's my time, right?
Yes. Well, she's got a little space there that she hangs out on. The side of my desk is pretty empty, specifically for her. It's doing the big brushes because it doesn't like me using Photoshop. Yeah. It depends. I mean, if I'm doing like a logo, I'll do just separate versions, but I'll often, I mean, you can see this as a drop down. I'll make different versions. It depends on how big it is. So this piece, and this is what I usually work in, is like 16 by 20, 600 DPI resolution, which is best for printing. I actually recently talked to a printer who said that RGB is better than CMYK, and he is one of the best printers I've ever worked with, so I trust him. Forgive me struggling to move my mouse. The cat is laying on the mouse because that's what she does. Yeah, so there's some glitter. So yeah, what I was thinking about doing on this one is like some rain coming down, and let's see if I can do some of that so you can see what I mean. You know, of course, you don't use special brushes for everything, but they really do help. I like those cloud brushes for things. And see, I've got water, so I can do rain. And then I will do that. They don't do all the work for you. It's just stuff I like to do to kind of get something down, you know, like grass. You're not going to draw every blade of grass. You're going to get the hint of grass and do a little bit of grass texturing, and then you'll do some you know, individualized grass by hand. And then, you know, what I would do here is I'd go in and make her look a little wet, make the dress look kind of wet, give some fog and mist, and maybe a building back here with a red light and some more people, and you know, make sure it's real hyper realistic. And yeah.
Well, Ariel, we are at time. Is there any
Okay.
thing you'd like to say?
You know, thank you for everybody. Real quick, make sure to always sign your stuff. Yeah, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being here, for supporting JordanCon, and this was really fun. And I didn't get to really read a lot of what was going on, but because I was moving fast. But yeah, this is super fun. Thank you.
And be sure, everyone, that to follow her, to see her works, go to artistarielburgess.com, and be sure to follow and support her on her Patreon page. Links have been posted in the chat. And thank you guys, and have a great evening.
Thank you.